People of Reddit who genuinely dislike your own kids. When did you realize it, and why? My middle son, 19, stole a 9mm pistol from my 82-year-old father. When I confronted him about it, he said I didn't understand. He needed the money, and if I had given him more he might not have done it. 2 months later got caught on video stealing the candy money jar from a Mexican restaurant. Again says if I had given him money, because he's completely cut off at this point, wouldn't have done it. Downward spiral continues. He takes no responsibility for anything. He's a selfish asshole who won't take care of his kids, much less himself. I never thought I'd say this about my own child, but fuck that guy. After just having a massive fight with my 19-year-old, I can honestly say that I'm one of these parents. I love him to death. I would die for him, but I don't like him too much. He is an narcissistic asshole. I'm hoping beyond hope he changes his ways, or he is in for a rude awakening. I don't dislike my kids, but I really do hate the life I have. People say that kids don't need to change your way of living, but they do. They really do. Everything gets more expensive. You can't be spontaneous in the same way as before kids, etc. There are so much things that are so much harder to do now, and I feel so trapped and lonely. Hated kid here. I was the kid who gave my parents zero problems as a teenager / young adult. I got married to an amazing woman. My parents reacted like she was stealing me from them, so they treated her like shit. I took my wife's side, and now they hate me. They had controlling tendencies, but left me alone for the most part. As soon as they realized they were losing what control they had, shit hit the fan. Edit. There are some nasty replies. I just want to clarify that I felt like I should post this because most parents are giving really reasonable reasons for not liking their kids, and I wanted to point out that that's not always the case. To all the parents struggling, I was that kid. Cut my sister's hair off, got expelled from school, got arrested for drugs on Christmas Eve, moved into a crack house in my late teens. All the while being a spoilt brat and asking for more and more money. But by the time I was in my mid-20s I got my shit together. It was only my parents loving me that got me out the other side. Stick with them. Hopefully it's just a phase. It's not my son exactly, because I love him more than I can even express, but I think I dislike the act of being a parent. I didn't know how much I'd lose, how tired I would be, how other parents treat you. I have to be positive all the time to keep him secure and happy, even when I feel like death. I realized it recently, in therapy. It's not really them, Peresi. I realized about myself that I dislike children. Period. That said, the presence of my kids in my life 24/7 has led to a great deal of resentment under the surface that I'm now finally in touch with, which means now I'm also trying to deal with the guilt of feeling this way about the people I brought into this world. I want, desperately, to be able to get in my car and drive to Alaska back just because I can. But I can't. I want to be able to have something called a quiet weekend, assuming there is such a thing. I want to have money in the bank, better prospects for career advancement, the ability to take a risk like starting my own business. But I can't. I need the stable paycheck so that I can keep food on the table for the people in my house who took my wife away from me. Meanwhile, my oldest is consistently lying to my face. My oldest two are constantly at war with each other over stupid shit. My third is special needs. I've got 2 in diapers, and this was all stuff that my wife and I walked into thinking it would be wonderful. Worst of all, for her, it is wonderful, and that makes me the bad guy for having these feelings, since I'm obviously just being incredibly selfish. You know what? She's right. I do feel like the bad guy for having these feelings, and I do feel like I'm being selfish, but I can't just snap my fingers and make these feelings go away. I'm just hoping that one day these children will grow up and get out of my house so I can have my wife back, assuming they don't kill her first. I disliked my 19-year-old for a while. He lost his damned mind, lied to me and his mom, my ex-wife, repeatedly over everything, got married without telling us to some girl he was friends with on FB, at 19, mind you, cheated on his wife of a month, got another girl pregnant not a year later, and complained for the longest time that it was my ex-wife and I's parenting that caused all this. Now, I'm more than aware that we weren't perfect parents, highlighted by our divorce a few years ago late into his teen years, 16 years old, but that sure as shit doesn't give him the right to be such a shitty person and treat others this way. These were only the highlight examples I gave, not even all the minor bullshit lies and shenanigans he was into. I totally get being angry with us, but the amount of damage that he's caused others really made me dislike him as a person. At almost 21 he's gotten his life a little more together this last year, finally getting a job, trying to take care of the girl he impregnated, and take care of his divorce from his wife. It's just rough. In about 4 months I'm going to be a grandparent and I don't even know the girl he knocked up, and he doesn't think he's going to stay with her as a couple, not abandoning his child. It's really sullied the experience of finding out you're going to be a grandparent. I'm not even mad that he's young and doesn't have his shit together. It's all the lies and bullshit that his relationship or relationships are predicated on, and that he has no real reservations about hurting others through lies, not physically, if it means getting his own way. He just has a long way to go in being a person I can actually respect. I love my son, I really do, but I find that respecting him is something I just can't really do right now. I hope this changes soon, if only for his child to grow up in a stable environment. Not a parent, but I see a lot of people saying they dislike their teen/young adult. I was an absolute shithead as a teen, and I'm pretty sure my parents hated me. I hated me. I hate looking back on that time. But I grew up, got my mental illness in check, and I have a great relationship with my parents now at 28. There's hope, guys. Edit. We've been on good terms for quite some time now. I'd say I got it together in my early/mid 20s. Kindnoff repeated. My mom told me she likes me just fine as a person, but hates me as a daughter. My boyfriend likes to say me and my mom are great as friends, and he's kind of right. Like, so long as I'm completely independent and just see my mom for holidays and special occasions, we get along great. Especially if it's not mother/daughter stuff, if we are just two people hanging out. I spent 95% of my life hating/resenting my mother. Now that I don't treat her like a parent, she's great. My feelings changed the moment my then 17-year-old daughter sucker punched me on side of my head during an argument about her cleaning her room. If I wasn't holding my 1-year-old at the time, I'm positive I would have knocked her the fuck out. I guess in my mind she did something taboo. You never ever hit your mom. But she did. I love her, but she broke my heart that day and I can't seem to get over it. Can't say I genuinely dislike my grandchild, but, damn, she is not even 10 yet, her mother and aunt, and I work at trying to communicate with her instead of reacting to her pushing our buttons, but she is manipulative in how she throws her fits and tantrums, has been used to being rewarded, taken for ice cream to calm down, by another relative, that all changed when they moved closer to me. Thinks a teary hug and empty words of sorry will get what she wants. When it does not happen, the whole cycle starts again. My daughter used to deal with this at least 6 times a day. I have just dealt with about 5 fits in 3 days. If she continues to be like this, and not willing to help with any changes, she will be one that I can say that I will not like, or have anything to do with. We are not giving up yet, but a total of a 3-hour fit for being told to put jeans on. Come on, that is ridiculous. Sometimes we can see that she is processing what we are explaining, talking to her about that you're a step in the right direction, to be followed next morning by an hour fit about shoes. It isn't just about clothes, chores, homework, sharing anything. I have never seen someone like this. I don't dislike my kids, but I dislike being a parent. I figured that out far too late. I'd always wanted to be a mom and everyone goes on and on about how great it is. They lied. I'm not cut out to be a parent. Mine were really abusive, so I struggle to not parent the same way. But I don't have the tools in my toolbox, so to speak. That coupled with a difficult marriage makes it really tough. Emotionally I always feel in crisis, which also makes it tough to be a good parent. Anyway, make sure you are really ready before you take the leap. I lost all respect when the kid began pushing homeopathic products and therapies. When did this kid become convinced that this literal snake oil is good for people? When did science and logic lose out? What's even worse is that the kid still thinks their views are completely normal and mainstream. Meanwhile, I can't get over the numerous people being hurt by this completely useless hokum every day which my progeny is advocating. All of those clients should be going to a real doctor. My own kid is actually a force for bad outcomes. It makes me ill. I have a 7-year-old daughter. I think she has some kind of personality disorder. Some days she's her normal loving, goofy self. Then there are other days where she is manipulative, mean, and hysterical. She says things to hurt you on purpose and will freak out if she doesn't get her way, hurting herself in the process. But if I call her dad and FaceTime with him, she stops on a dime and says I was lying and I hit her and don't love her. I didn't even know a kid that young could lie like that. She does this to me, my husband, and her stepmom. Her dad honestly believes we are all lying when we say something is wrong. She's been to 3 therapists and they all act like we are crazy because she puts on a good act. It makes me sick sometimes that I'm happy when she goes to her dad's house. I have a 1-year-old son with my husband and I don't want her to do to him what she does to me or her other family members. I don't know what to do. To all those that fall in this category, I want you to realize it doesn't have to stay like this. You made your kids. Some of it is genetic, and there is little you can do about that. But a lot of nurture. Growing kids is hard, but parents often make some fairly basic mistakes which lead to difficult kids. The most important one is being inconsistent and not following through with threats or making threats that are not actionable, like I'll kill you. I see so often parents telling children things like you do that and you are grounded for a week. And 2 days later the kid is roaming free. Or they take say their electronics, only to return them 5 minutes later. Or not even take them away at all. Most kids are not stupid, and they learn fast. It's just that often learn the wrong lesson. My wife taught me this. Always follow on your threats, and always be consistent. And I taught her to never make a threat she wasn't comfortable following through. You start being systematic and consistent with your threats and punishment and your kids may disobey a few times, but that's about it. We have 3 teenagers, and I don't remember the last time they disobeyed, disrespected us or lied to us. And the best thing is that the last time we had to punish them was probably when they were 4 or 5, and we had to take away some silly toy. And we did, and they learned the pattern. A minor punishment applied consistently is much stronger than a terrible threat you are likely not to follow through. So it's not like you have to actually punish them severely, just show them acts have consequences, and they will learn quickly. Of course, this is not the only thing, and it doesn't guarantee well-behaved kids on its own. But this, along with other similar patterns, can be the difference between a kid you can live happily with and one you can't bear. Also obviously, if you have been lenient or inconsistent for 15 years, it may take much longer to change the pattern of behavior of your kids even after you start being consistent. But it does work even if starting late. And of course, if you did everything right and your kid is still an asshole, sorry to hear about it. CNN, it may happen. But do everything you can to ensure you get the best out of those genes. If you don't like your kids, maybe there is something you can do to turn them into people you do like. And they will thank you for it, eventually. My mother-in-law despises my sister-in-law. Here's a rundown on why. Did crack, heroin, coke and several other beautiful drugs in their own kids, my nieces, rooms. Stole several $1,000s by signing a lease with my sales boyfriend, who was the children's father, and also did several hard drugs, and then they never paid rent, so yeah, there's that. Boyfriend was arrested, so they moved south. Mid-lease. My wife, Mill, and her fiance had to clean out the apartment. It was so bad my wife told me not to come near it as it was that embarrassing. They found $1,000s in drugs and the place was trashed. Like used condoms and bloody underwear lying around. We don't know where they are, so we can't do anything about the kids. But toys we gave the girls were still there. Any toys with mirrors were gone. Drugs in the kids' closet with a chair and several other paraphernalia were found in there as well. Furniture we gave them was trashed. My stepson has a lot of quirks that can be attributed to his age. Teenagers are difficult, but also, he is, and has been, since I've known him as a little kid, rude to almost everyone, very selfish, and tries to manipulate everyone. I have really tried to form a bond, but I'm pretty sure he despises me and always has, so I've kind of given up. I used to try to hone in on good qualities I saw in him, and build them, and connect with him in those things, but it was so much effort to try to get him to act on them and channel those, it wasn't worth the fight. I'd feel guilty, anyway, but especially since my BO child was born, because I love being a parent and I really like my kid. I just don't much like my stepkid. There are some decent days, but for the most part, I just don't think he's a nice person. My 10YO daughter. I dislike her because she is so bombastic, self-serving, and narcissistic. My other daughter is 13 and is a typical teenager, but is mild-mannered, oozes empathy, and is humble. It's subtly bizarre to me that two girls raised exactly the same can turn out so utterly different.